What is up, everybody? It's Tyler with Hooksets are free. Hope you guys are having a good one. It is Wednesday night, June 29th, 2022. So, a little bit of a random time for me to go live. I rarely go live on a Wednesday evening, but just so happened that that's how my schedule works out this week. So I don't really know what we're going to have in the way of an audience tonight, and we're going to have to see. I created this stream uh, pretty late, last minute here, and on my end, it looks like nobody's in here right now. I don't know if that's true, but whether you're watching now live or on the replay, do me a quick favor, hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment, either in the live chat or down below in the comment section. Let me know that you're watching. Let me know what you think of the content of this video, as well as the quality and otherwise. So it looks like we've got Daniel and Matt hopping in here. What's up, guys? How you doing tonight? Got three people showing right now. I got a fat pour of whiskey. This is that first call whiskey I was drinking a couple streams ago. I think I still have the bottle that I cracked when Matt and I were on last week. Might dip into that after this big pour, depending on how it goes. But I've got a little bit of an unboxing to show you guys, and I hinted at that when I was on with Matt just not too long ago, doing his unboxing and showing you guys my new rod that I've got, my new swim bait rod from St. Croix. So, gentlemen, how's your week going so far? I hope I can see this all right. Now, from my end, it looks like there's only three people in here right now, and that could absolutely be true. But, I created this stream last minute, and so it can be tough for me to sometimes see the comments or see exactly how many people are in here. But I will give everybody just a couple of moments to hop in before I actually open these packages for you. It came in two separate packages because I did technically make two separate orders. The first one was a few things along with the rod. And then, as I told you guys, I did get a gift card along with that purchase because the rod was right in that, $150 price point range. And so I got a $50 gift card. So I made a second purchase that has also come, and I've got that. So two small little boxes from the hookup tackle to open and show you guys, and I'm excited about them. We'll talk about these baits in detail a little bit, but Daniel says he sees three people in here as well, and Matt says usually takes a couple minutes, but I think Hellabass has his VIP stream tonight as well. Okay, yeah, I have no idea. I hate to say that I don't really watch much of Rich's stuff, and I'm not a member of anybody's channel, so I don't really. I'm not in the know when it comes to, say, a VIP stream, but sounds like Daniel is perhaps in there and in here as well. Adam Odin, how you doing tonight, man? Good to see you. Cheers. So, just to update you guys on what's new for me, not a lot has happened in the last 5 days or so because I had that bachelor party over the weekend. Did a little bit of fishing while we were on a pontoon boat that we rented out on Saturday. But we were just cruising around the lake, and I've never fished there before. So it was quite challenging, but I did manage to catch a pretty decent trout on top water on a popper, which is pretty fun. But otherwise, I caught like two small fish yesterday, um, and that was about it. Caught them on a drop shot with a Zoom swamp crawler. But other than that, I mean, that's roughly it. So it's been a slow start to the week for me. And unfortunately, my wife got called into work last night, is working tonight and tomorrow night. And then we head up to the mountains on Friday. So I'll do a little bit of trout fishing on the fly, meaning fly fishing, this weekend while up in the mountains. But otherwise, it's not going to be until next week that I'm able to get out and smack some bass. So that is kind of the short, but I don't know whether it's sweet or not so sweet update in terms of my fishing as of right now. What about you guys? Have you been fishing this week, and how's it been for you so far? Adam says, just got back from fishing, not a single hit. That is rough, dude. Yeah, yesterday I saw a ton of bass up shallow. One of my regular spots that I whacked them at night last week. Um, you know, I told you guys I caught like 15, almost 20 fish at night in a matter of like an hour and a half, which was awesome. I went during the day yesterday or the day before, and the water was pretty clear, but the grass has grown up like crazy, which is kind of unusual for that place. So it confused me a little bit, but I could see bass and they were not eating. It's been really hot here in Colorado, and so I think those fish are right in their post spawn funk right now, where they're just not eating, straight up recovering. So I could see some old bass beds, and I could see some bluegill beds um, in and around all of this grass that has grown up. And I could see a bunch of bass either cruising or just hanging out, sunning themselves in the shallows, but I could not get their attention with anything. I mean, I was literally dropping baits on their heads and bumping them, and they would move out of the way, but they were not getting pissed at anything. I only got a follower or two on a chatterbait, but nothing hitting. And so I saw some smaller fish that were slightly more aggressive, that were nibbling on the Zoom swamp crawler on a drop shot. And, I was missing them as I set the hook. Like they were almost too small to get the entire bait in their mouth, or they were just eating one end. I had it wacky rigged on a drop shot. So I cut that worm in half and then caught a couple pretty quickly. But I wasn't trying to catch the tiny little fish, especially when I could see a couple 2.5, 3, 4 pounders uh, sitting up in the shallows. I was just going at them with everything. So after about an hour and a half of that, I bailed. Didn't make sense for me to hang out and get sunburned and ride it out. So it is what it is. There'll always be next week and the rest of the summer. But crazy to think that June is coming to a close here, and that 4th of July is this weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about sales going on for the 4th of July coming up here this weekend. But I want to unbox this package for you. Looks like some people are starting to trickle in. It looks like 8 people are in here right now. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button real quick, and let's get rolling on this video. Looks like Daniel says, I dropped a notice for you on IG. Okay. John Smith, what's up, dude? Matt says, no, I haven't been fishing. Going to try tomorrow, but I haven't feeling 100%, to be honest. Well, sorry to hear that, dude. Hope you heal up quick. Gators Adventures, what's up to you as well? Hope you're having a good night, man. Abe in the house. What's up indeed, dude? Tim Maynard, JDM gravy, baby. That's what we're going to do tonight. In fact, JDM stuff is expensive, so it adds up quick. There's probably only a half a dozen or 8 different baits in here, but it adds up to $100 or something like that. So we'll take it kind of slowly, perhaps. I queued up the underwater video of the bait that we were talking about last week when Matt was on. So I will show you guys that because I'm excited about it, but I could not find the underwater video of the other bait that Matt was saying he knows where that is, and I'm not sure how to find it. So we'll see if Matt can find an underwater video of the Sakamata. That would be sweet. Send it to me. on Instagram or otherwise, because we'll be on that bait in a matter of 10 minutes or so. So Matt says he's got some nice cranks coming around, or coming though around Saturday. Okay, sweet. Well, Daniel, thanks for giving Tim a heads up that I was going live. I appreciate that. I don't think I have Tim's Instagram or contact information. I always try to push out a little bit of a heads up, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour ahead of time before I go live. And that helps get some people in here. But, Tim, hit me up on Instagram, dude. JP Harrell in the house. What's up, JP? How you doing tonight? Yo, yo, yo. No, Matt, I did not make that purchase on Ichiban or on 6 cents. So I held strong, but I will say that I still have those tabs open in my Chrome browser right now that shows I've got about 50 tabs open, about a half a dozen of which are Ichiban. So we'll see. Tim says you got to pay to play, buddy. Them grown folks baits. Yeah, that's true. JDM is not cheap, but it's worth it. I think most people who have gone down that rabbit hole agree that that it's the deal. Once you kind of get to know JDM baits, it's hard to look at more traditional, American baits and see or feel as good about them. Quite honestly, just looking right in front of me, I don't even really want to show you guys, but I've got this mess of baits, and like I've got some Lucky Craft stuff. I've got the Evoke. I've got some Jackal lipless, Megabass, top waters, stuff like that. And then I look over and I look at some Strike King and 6 cents and some Berkeley baits, and it's not the same. You know what I mean? Those baits don't get me going in the same way that a lot of JDM baits do. So I totally hear you, Tim. And yeah, please do hit me up on Instagram, dude. Tom says the notice popped up while watching Hellabass. Okay, so a bunch of you guys were perhaps watching Hellabass tonight. Dave Jolly in the house. What's up, my man? And JP says he does the same thing with tabs. Always got to have a few dozen tabs up. They're all like a sliver big. Just big enough for me to know kind of what website it is. I can't help it. I only keep one window open, but a whole butt ton of tabs, Oh, cool, Daniel. All right, yeah. Add me to the group. Sweet. And I know, Dave, I do have to get this table organized. I gotta load everything in these boxes, but quite honestly, I need to get a couple new boxes because a lot of these boxes are like chock full. For example, you can see that these poppers are pretty much filling this box, and I've pulled out a handful of poppers recently that I've been fishing with. So, it's tough to be able to fit this Lucky Craft G Splash. I've got a couple of those here. Same goes for most of my techniques. A lot of these boxes are already like full. So same deal with all of these frogs. They just don't really have a place to go at the moment. So I need to work on my organization when it comes to new boxes and places that I'm going to put things. But I totally agree. John says JDM stuff is expensive for sure, but worth it. Watch a video recently of a $3,000 tackle warehouse order. It was a pretty boring run-of-the-mill stuff. Yeah, I don't know how you could throw $3,000 on tackle warehouse stuff or anywhere else ordinary, and really feel excited about it. Gators Adventures. Yeah, I'm sure you would like that, but this is stuff that I don't really want to give away. I do have a pile of giveaway stuff over there, and I could show you what's in it at some point, but I've got a handful of crankbaits, a couple of frogs, I've got the bait fuel. Yeah, I've got at least $100 worth of stuff sitting there that like I've gradually set aside for giveaways. And then I've got a giant bag of chatterbaits and chatterbait trailers all to give away. So don't worry, I've got a bunch of giveaway stuff coming. All right. JP says that's kind of what my desk looks like in my bait room too. Just made me feel better. Well, I'm glad I could make you feel better. You know, it might look like it's organized in here, but it's actually not. Um, you know, the stuff on the wall and the stuff in the boxes are organized, but the stuff at my feet under this desk, the stuff on the desk in front of the computer, the stuff on that table that you can't see, it's all a mess. So we're in the same boat, dude. Don't worry about it. And Matt says, I only know of one video that shows the action of the Sakamata on a straight retrieve, but I'll try to send it to you on Insta. Yeah, please do, because all of the underwater videos that I could see were showing that thing on a slow Twitch style retrieve and letting that thing kind of fall down horizontally, which looks enticing, but that's not what we were talking about when we were talking about the wobbling action, the swimming action of it versus the VTS. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. All right. Tim says, I grew up pretty poor, to be honest. I love to fish, but I couldn't afford a lot of stuff. Had to make what I had work. Now that I've got the money, I buy baits like they're going to rot. I hear you, dude. Yeah, I was never into fishing as a kid, other than fly fishing, and that was just because it's one of my dad's passions. Um, so you know, I used my dad's stuff. I never like bought fishing tackle or gear with my own stuff until I really got into it a handful of years ago and just kind of set aside a budget for it. And the collection has steadily grown. And I feel you. Yeah, Tom, I am going to need a bigger room soon, but you know, I got to keep it within reason so that it all fits in frame. There's 10 times, no, not 10 times more, but there's a whole lot more stuff that I have than what you see behind me and next to me, right? You know, and not just in all of these drawers, but on the tables and everywhere else. So yeah, I don't need a bigger room because I've got about 8 feet that way, 10 feet that way, and 6 or 8 feet that way as well. So Tim says it looks pretty organized. Should see all the crap I've got piled up around me right now. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Tim. Gators Adventure says I've started using the boxes from Harbor Freight. They cost $9 and it has the O-ring seal. Interesting. Um, I'm not sure I'm familiar with those boxes. Are you talking about, you know, standard tackle boxes like these ones from Plano or Flambeau? Or are you talking about bigger boxes, something that you might store soft plastics in, something like that? You know, I've got these shoe boxes from Walmart that I paid a couple bucks for that I keep a bunch of soft plastics in, depending on either the brand or the technique. But I already need a couple or a handful more of these. So yeah, that's a problem. You just say yes. I assume you're talking about tackle boxes like these guys. $9. You know, that's not much better of a price than what you get out of these 3,700 size boxes from Plano that are waterproof and I quite like. The large size is in between a 36 and a 3,700 size. Okay, that's kind of cool. I like that. All right, guys, let's get into this. We got 14 people in here right now. One last time, I'll ask you, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And we're going to get right into this unboxing of some JDM baits that I got from the Hookup Tackle. Sorry that it took me 20 minutes to get around to doing so, but I just wanted to greet you all and give you a chance to hop in here. Frank Doucette in the house. My man, what's up, Frank? How you doing? Matt says, I just used lunchbox style boxes. I'm not even quite sure what you're talking about. For your baits or for plastics? Nice, Adam. We're on the same page. You just bought those shoe boxes for plastics. Sweet. All right, guys. So first is a few things that I added to my order on top of the rod that I showed you guys in the video that Matt and I were on last week, which is this St. Croix Bass X swim bait rod. This is a 7'10" extra heavy fast action. Okay, so this is a swim bait rod meant for lures 4 to 8 ounces. It was right around 150 bucks, and because I bought it, the hookup gave me a $50 gift card, and that's what led to this second purchase that I'll open in just a few moments. But while I bought the swim bait rod, I added a couple things to my cart because I was already interested in these baits and you know, saw them available. So first, since I've got it queued up and since we talked about it already on last week's stream, this is the DRT Working Class Zero collaboration in the VTS 7. And this is the Joy Thief color, if you can read that. Joy Thief. So they make this bait in 2 sizes. I hate that I have to rip this, but that's going to be a theme with a couple things in here. So it is what it is. They make this bait in a 5-inch and in a 7-inch. So here is the 7-inch. Oh, now it's interesting. Matt can show me on the stream, show all of you guys, and then I have a general feel for what this bait is like until I actually pull it out of the package, and then it's almost totally different than what I thought I saw, and that is not a bad thing, okay? So, again, this is the Joy Thief color, which is the same color as this bait in the DRT Clash 9, and this is actually the Tiny Clash. So essentially, they've created a soft plastic version of this bait. You can see they are effectively the same size, right at that 7-inch range. And this has a blue back and kind of a pearlescent silver belly. Now, this is a lot thinner of a bait than I thought it might be, which is certainly not a problem. You can see that the back is quite a bit thicker than the belly, which is kind of cool. And there are hook slots that go really far back in the bait. So I would suspect that if you used a hook that went all the way back here, I mean, that's got to be like a 12-aught hook. That's going to take up just a little bit too much body. I would prefer to put something like an 8-aught hook in here, maybe even a 7-aught, and then you get just a bit more action out of this thing. So you can see already that this thing has a lot of tail to it. It also has the slits on the belly of the bait so that you can kind of count how many notches you're going and then more accurately be able to tell where you're supposed to come out the back. So very cool looking bait. It's interesting that the tail here is not only razor thin, but that it's got a really unique shape so that the top of the tail is longer than the bottom. I'm not exactly sure what that does, but I am going to show you a little video right now that I pulled up from, I think it's DRT's YouTube channel. So let me just show you this real quick. If I can share my screen and pull up this Chrome tab. Let's see here. I have no idea what this looks like on your guys' end. Looks like it's not even loaded right now. Come on, baby. Whole lot of blank nothing. I swear I had this queued up to like the exact point in the video where I wanted to show you. Oh, now because I refreshed, it's going to make me look at an ad or two. Look at that. Not even loaded. Come on. Struggle House over here. Let me see what this looks like on your end. Yeah, that looks horrible, doesn't it? All right, here she is. Oh, that was it. What's going on here? Oh, every time I move the mouse, this thing's tripping balls. No. Because I want to be able to go back in time. It's not letting me see. I don't even know what that looks like to you guys right now. A lot of white screen. All right, let's go back here. Look at that. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that tail. That is on a straight retrieve. That was so quick. All right, so you can see it there. I know. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm going all the way back. Not moving the mouse. All right, take a look. Look at that tail wiggle. They're just straight reeling this bait. Yeah, Tim, thanks for the compliment. High quality production value, huh? So that right there is what I wanted to show you guys. Is just that straight retrieve, or if say you were to pull it, you know, it'll dart well, like you can see there, like a traditional fluke. But then when you wind it or you pull it, that thing's gonna like wiggle and wag pretty crazy. So that is all I wanted to show you guys. And let me go ahead and pull this off of here because that was ugly. Sorry, guys. But the VTS, to me, looks pretty sick. Specifically in the 7, it has that action. Not as much in the 5. The 5 looks to be more of like a traditional fluke where really you are going to just twitch, and pause and kind of let that thing fall and expect them to eat it as it's dying, if you will. So this guy right here, for a 7-inch bait, I'm kind of surprised that it comes 5 to a pack, and they're $10 a pack. And this is a collaboration with Working Class Zero. And for being a JDM bait, they could definitely charge more or just simply put fewer baits in the pack. You know, usually for flukes this big, you'd be spending $10 for 3 baits or something like that. So anyway, I got 2 packs of these. Same bait, same color. The hookup only had the one color in 3 different baits by DRT. So the VTS 7, the VTS 5, and then the Cramp Shad, which is a unique finesse soft plastic swim bait. It's like a 4 to 5 inch swim bait with a paddle tail that you can cut off or leave. It looks interesting for sure, but initially I was thinking about getting 1 pack of each of those. And then when I saw these videos of the VTS 7, I kind of went nuts and decided, never mind. I like that 7 a lot and can certainly see a place for it on that fast straight retrieve. So decided to just get 2 packs of those and skip the VTS 5 and the cramp shad. And that was kind of step number 1 in this purchase. Let me catch up on your guys' comments. I am sorry about that. Man, you guys are flying. Tim says, I'm still into the Sakamata shad right now. Haven't got to the DRT yet. Looks great though. Okay. Well, please tell us more about the Sakamata shad in the comments right now, because I did finally get around to picking up a pack of the Sakamata shad as well in this purchase, because Matt has been talking about them a lot. I know they've got a really good reputation, generally speaking. And they've been quasi on my radar as a bait that like I'm curious about, but as with most of Depth's products, they're pretty expensive. So again, these are, I want to say, $10 a pack. This is the 6-inch size. Not going to focus for you. And I can't even tell you the color because it's in Japanese. But let me count here. Looks like we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a pack. That's not bad. So it's 6-inch fluke style bait. And you can see already that this bait has quite a different shape and a different tail. So this is more of like a fluke style tail, where you get this orientation that is in line with the bait as opposed to side to side. I personally think that VTS just looks a little bit more natural being like this instead of like this. But doesn't quite matter. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a traditional style fluke, but Matt was kind of suggesting otherwise while we were talking last week. So I do throw 5-inch flukes most of the time. So I loved seeing that the 6-inch of the Sakamata shad comes with the same number of baits in each pack as the 5-inch does. So couple things to note about this bait, aside from the fact that this, electric shad type of color is gorgeous, is that it's got a very pointy nose. It really tapers more than most baits down to the nose, and it's got these stabilizer fins, as you can see there. So these guys are going to create a unique action on the fall and keep this bait more horizontal, but also perhaps make it do something a little more erratic underwater. I'm not sure about that, but this bait looks to be really well designed. It's got a deep belly slot. And so, I don't know, this 6-inch bait, I'd probably throw a roughly 6/0 hook on here, maybe even 5/0. I prefer, generally speaking, to get away with or to use as small of a hook as I can get away with, just so that there's as much tail action as possible. You can see there's these notches on top, just like on that DRT VTS, not on the bottom because you don't really need them, but to be able to line up and know exactly where to come out. So this is the Depth's Sakamata shad. I foresee myself using it in place of a traditional Zoom Super Fluke. Immediately as we're still in the post spawn, And then obviously once we get into the fall, but who knows? I don't know exactly how much I'm going to use them throughout the dead of summer unless I'm in super grassy situations. Dave says I need me a TK. Just ordered a fish arrow riser jack. Nice. Tim says, what's the sink rate on those, Tyler? Are they non-salted or salted? So the VTS, they are salted, but it's more of a traditional slow, maybe medium speed fall, kind of like the Sakamata shad. They also make a salted version, just like they do with the Sakamata, that's more of a heavy weighted version, which would fall a bit quicker. So neither of these are that heavyweight version. Matt says, I can't find that video on the Sakamata. Okay. Swore it was part of the Lure News TV, but it might be a small clip in a larger video. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, if you can find it, great. If not, don't worry, dude. Not a big deal. Tail section is on bottom, and the thicker part on top usually allows the bait to not roll as much. Probably opposite for the VTS. I couldn't tell you, dude, but I'm definitely interested to see kind of what it does in the water. Tim says, I've pretty much set every other fluke aside all this year. I'm really into the Sakamata right now. Figured out a few tricks with that one. Well, do tell, man. Do tell. I am so far behind on the comments. Holy shnikes. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, and it's not that big of a deal that I showed it, Tim. You know, there's 15 people in right now, and I think most people already know about the Sakamata, so it is what it is. I don't know what just happened in the comments, but I am sorry, guys. The fat cramp shad is coming. Way better action. Interesting. I hadn't heard of that, but am curious. Losing big fish in the house. What's up, dude? How you doing tonight? Daniel says, will you throw that weightless or weighted? I will throw it weightless the vast majority of the time, unless I find that it has a super slow fall and I'm wanting to get the bait down. But even still, you know, I find that I'm going to throw that in places where I am in and around grass more frequently. And so throwing a weighted hook like an owner beast or something of the sort will hang grass more frequently. So I'm going to throw it weightless the vast majority of the time, but that's just me. I reserve the right to change my mind on that. John says another DRT bait that has good action is the DRT Fink. Looks like it's crawling on the bottom and can be used on a jig. I've never heard of that, dude. The Fink, might need to check that out. And Matt's familiar with that bait, but they don't sell them here apparently. Okay. Tim says one of the great things about the depth Sakamata and a lot of other JDM companies is they offer the same bait with different sink rates. Yeah, I think that's super cool. Matt, well, dang it, dude. Just a warning, the 6-inch doesn't swim as good as the 7 and the 8. Okay, so I'll use it more like a traditional fluke, and I'll use the BTS 7 as more of a swimming bait, but good to know. Daniel says it's called Biwako Wagasaki. That sounds right. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't say on the package. It just says color number 146 and about a half a dozen JDM character or Japanese characters, but I don't know. Gator's Adventures, I also love that color. Reminds you of the Sixth Sense whale, huh? I mean, perhaps a little bit. I swear I've got that color in the whale too. Let's show it. Little oily, but yeah, here's the Sixth Sense whale. This is Electric Shiner. Also has some similar stabilizer fins, but obviously this is a paddle tail swim bait, so meant for a different purpose. I would throw this on an owner beast hook, and do have one rigged up that way right now, in fact. Now, I don't throw the whale all that much, and now that I've gotten my hands on the, I thought I had them hung up here. No, I took them with me the other day, but the bariki shads, these guys are ones that I really intend to put to use this season. So, you know, when it comes to paddle tail swim baits, this is going to kind of get a quicker notch than a lot of others for me in the near future. So Tim says that the Sakamata shad is extremely versatile because they offer so many different sizes. Those fins on this side create a unique action and allow it to fall horizontally. Yeah, that was my suspicion. The fins on the Sakamata also serve to slow the bait down significantly while still maintaining action, allowing it to make a longer presentation and stay in the strike zone longer. Cool, man. Yeah, that's what I just said a couple minutes ago, Matt. I know that you sent me that on Instagram not that long ago, saying that they are going to make the VTS in a heavyweight version, just like the Sakamata, where it is more heavily salted. So, not trying to keep that fluke a secret. Plenty of people know it exists, but you got to spend time with it in order to learn where it's most effective. Good point, Tim. And I hope that I can put the time in to really get a good feel for when, where, and why I would prefer the Sakamata over, you know, a standard Zoom Super Fluke or something of the sort. There are a couple of fluke style baits that I do like to throw, but these ones I'm pretty pumped about. And it took me a while to kind of get over the hump of pulling the trigger on that. I've got one other bait in this initial box that I purchased along with the rod. So there's 3 packs of soft plastics, and then this was just on a whim. Like this bait wasn't really on my radar, but I kind of couldn't help it. This is the Megabass Grand Siglet. Now, they make this bait in a few different sizes. So the Grand Siglet is the small guy, I think. This is just a 1/4 ounce topwater bait, and it's 42.5 millimeters long. So this is not even a 2-inch long bait. And as you can see, this is a cicada shaped bait with a single treble hook on the bottom. So this is a really small bait. I believe that the larger sizes of this bait come with metal wings, whereas this guy has like a relatively thick silicone style wing. But this is a crawler style bait. So in retrospect, you know, seeing this bait in person now, I'm wondering if maybe I should have gotten the larger size that has the metal wings on it, but I think maybe this could be a little bit quieter in terms of its action. Definitely still has some rattles in it, but I think this could be a better daytime player, whereas the larger bait would be a better nighttime player. Uh, Now, this hook on the bottom is a double hook, not a treble, but a double hook. So that's kind of interesting. A little bit more weedless, but I wonder how these wings are going to hold up. It also has a little tie on the back so that you could put an additional treble hook on there, or perhaps just put one hook on the back or the belly, maybe two tiny hooks. I don't really know, but this was a little bit of an impulse purchase that was not even on my radar, and I ended up pulling the trigger on it. So I don't know whether to say whoops or that I'm excited about it, but it's somewhere in between. It's a pretty nifty looking bait. That rattle is louder than I would have suspected as well. Wow, you guys are popping in the chat, and I appreciate that. Oh, sorry, Tim. Most of the guys that you fish against locally, at least the ones that would pose a threat to you, won't spend JDM money on baits. Thank God. Interesting. And John says the Grand Siglet is the biggest. Nice little crawler bait. Um, I could have sworn they made a crawler bait that had metal wings on it that is in the Siglet family, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they make smaller ones than that, and they've all got the silicone wings. I don't know. Hmm. Tim says, dude, that little grand Siglet is a top water killer. I got tired of catching fish on that thing last year. I changed the hook out for a size 6 Gamakatsu EWG bronze. Okay, good to know. Yeah, size 6 sounds about right on this guy right here. Now, do you know what this back tie is for? Is that for an additional treble hook? I mean, you'd probably have to go to, tiny trebles to get two of them to fit on there. I kind of wonder what that tail is designed for. What that little that tie on there. John also recommends switching out the double for a treble. Yep, that's what I am likely to do. I don't really throw double hooks on anything. I always find it a little bit weird, but um, yeah, maybe there's a reason that they do that. Maybe people are throwing it around heavier stuff or around grass, trying to get that thing through things that a treble might not be able to quite as easily. I'm not sure. Grand Siglet's kind of fragile. You broke the wing off of one last year, but you still have two more of them? Dang, dude. Yeah, see, I was so hesitant about this bait that I literally only got one of them because it's not like I was 100% sold on it. I've had good luck with crawler style baits and I've had good luck with bug style baits. So I thought that this might actually bridge the gap pretty well and be able to be a solid multi-species bait for me. But because I haven't used it yet, I don't know what the action looks like, what it sounds like in the water, or how well my fish will eat it. Just decided to pick one up and see kind of how it goes. But it will get thrown. Don't get me wrong. Dave, I have not tried the ABT Suicide Glide. Can't speak to that. Oh, it's a backwards crawler. What was I thinking, dude? I wasn't even looking at the bait to notice that this guy that you tie on the tail, and wasn't even looking at the direction of the wings to realize that obviously it would have to go this way for those wings to not only open up but to have a proper crawler action. I'm an idiot, and please forgive me for not paying attention, guys. Thank you to all of you who just corrected me. John, Matt, JP, appreciate you. Appreciate you. Wow. I feel dumb, but that's all good. So Tim says the Grand Siglet is the little one, I'm pretty sure. Well, shit. I thought it was too. Don't they make a larger version of this? You guys are saying, contradictory stuff about this being the smallest in the line versus the biggest in the line. I don't know or remember. Again, this bait wasn't fully on my radar until I was browsing around and just decided, screw it, I'll pick it up. So the Grand is the big one at 1.6, and the Siglet 1.4, and the Tiny 1.2. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Daniel. Daniel does some good research while on these live streams, so appreciate you, dude. Yeah, I'm an idiot. My bad, guys. Okay, done with that little package. That was what I bought in addition to the rod at the time of that purchase. So, it came out to whatever, 180, 190 bucks, something like that. And then immediately after making that purchase, they sent me a code for a $50 gift card. So I immediately went and made a purchase for just a little over 50 bucks. So there's not too much in here because, again, these are JDM baits. And, well, they're not all JDM baits. I think there's only 4 things in this package, if I'm not mistaken. Daniel, all about those tabs, dude. Tab it up. If I look at something or read about it, I tend to remember it better. Yeah, I'm with you on that 1000%, dude. All right. So yeah, the hookup, they don't remind you of what you spent. They just tell you what's in the package. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. So, this is a bait that's been on my radar for a long time, but that I have never pulled the trigger on. And a lot of people talk about this bait, but it's still kind of under the radar. It's not mainstream because it is JDM, and it's top notch. This is one of those like tournament winning baits that a lot of pros use, and yet nobody talks about. But if you do pay attention and you watch a lot of YouTube, you follow a lot of people, you'll hear about this bait from time to time. But it's hard to get your hands on these because it is such a popular bait for people in the know. And this right here is the OSP Blitz. Okay. So they make the Blitz in like, I don't know, half a dozen different variations or something crazy like that. And I was tempted to pick up the Tiny Blitz because it is the shallowest runner, I believe. But this standard size Blitz is already a small crankbait. If you can see that right there. I'm going to pull this out. But this guy is 53 millimeters long. So just 2 3/25 of an ounce. What the heck is that? Not even 2 1/4. This is barely over 2 inches in length. Okay. And it weighs 9 grams. So that's just a little less than 3/8 of an ounce. So here she is. This is a small body crankbait for sure. I don't know why I got blood on my fingers, but small bodied crankbait. It's a coffin bill, really a square bill crankbait meant to bang around in the shallows. This thing runs well at pretty much any speed, and it's got this unique weight here that protrudes from the belly right behind that front hook hanger, that keeps the bait really well balanced. So I believe this is a bait that is made from like a honeycomb style construction. Of course, I can't read the back of the packaging because it is 100% Japanese, but this is a crankbait that I have heard a ton of good things about, and never pulled the trigger on. These things run right at about 20 bucks a pop. And it's not for lack of interest in trying the bait, but more so for lack of availability, and also just kind of hesitation to spend the money. All right. And it wasn't until really earlier this year that I started getting into slightly higher dollar crankbaits. Um, I used to not crank all that much. And I would throw a square bill the vast majority of the time. And I would stick to either a Lucky Craft 1.5 or a Strike King KVD 1.5 the vast majority of the time. I've expanded my horizons greatly since then. And there are certain baits, like, Matt convincing me to get the Depths Evoke, also comes in a million different variations. And now the OSP Blitz. So these are two that I'm super jacked about. You guys already know, and I've talked about, the Lucky Craft BDS Magic 2.2 being another one that is a relatively expensive crankbait that I'm really excited to have. All of these are in the smaller versions. They make a Blitz Max, which is a bigger size. And like I said, they make a tiny Blitz. But this is a bait that I'm excited to try out. We'll see how it goes. This has an interesting shape to it that has some contours where it makes for a semi-flat side, right? Whereas the Depths Evoke, for example, don't be fooled by this paint scheme. These are not flat sides at all. This is a round bait, and so I wonder if that's going to make for a slightly tighter action or what. But this is just a slightly coffined bill, but it's mostly a square bill crankbait. This has, a circuit board bill, whereas the Depths Evoke has a plastic bill that is more of a traditional square bill with kind of pointy edges. So, as for where I'm going to throw this, I can't totally tell you other than in the shallows. This is a 0 to 6 foot diver, depending on, where you're fishing and your line size, things like that. But it will go as deep as 5 or 6 feet if you were probably throwing it on 8 or 10-pound fluorocarbon and you were fishing in deeper water. You'd be able to get it down to that depth. But I think if you're throwing this on 12, maybe 14-pound line, it would crash through, 2-3 feet, no problem, and bump bottom. I think this has solid buoyancy. It's supposed to be a pretty durable bait, and it is a totally silent bait. So I'm excited to try it out. This color is called Gin Rin, which is a somewhat familiar color to me. If I have to pee in a little bit, I might go grab another bait that is kind of this exact same color pattern by a different manufacturer. But got that Gin Rin color, which is more of a classic shad pattern. And then I got this bluegill color, which I'll need to look at the slip here to see what they call it. Buru gill. Buru gill. Wow. Just trying to bend the edges here to open the packaging. That plastic just cracked and snapped off. So Buru gill. This is a whole lot of blue. Bluegill. Is that how Japanese say bluegill? Bluegill. Bluegill. So check out that wicked color. So blue, green. It's got those stripes, a hint of orange near the gill plates. Gorgeous coloring on it. So shad pattern, bluegill pattern. That's what I got. 2 OSP Blitz crankbaits add up pretty quick. At least $40, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not totally sure. Tim says, I got to hit the head real quick myself. Hit the hay or hit the head? What do you say? Mainstream Fishing says that looks sick. I assume you're talking about the OSP Blitz. I don't know. John says that Blitz in the Jinrin color is great. Well, I'm excited about it, dude. Looks pretty sick, for sure. Matt says the OSP HPF crank has some honeycomb inside. Okay. Mainstream Fishing says, I love shallow cranks. Grew up on the baby 1 minus. Nice. OSP Blitz is actually one bait I was able to keep my mouth shut about for a long time. I discovered that company by accident almost 10 years ago, says Tim. Sweet. Well, lucky you for being in the know early on. I started hearing about the bait maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Bunch of different people talking about it, right? Not just pros, but also YouTubers and the hookup as well. But at the time, I wasn't trying to spend 15, 20 or more dollars on a crankbait because a lot of the places that I fish are fairly rocky, and I do hang crankbaits up, and I'm fishing from the bank, and it hurts to lose a super expensive crankbait like that. So it took a while to really get to know the spots that I fish and where it makes sense to run the risk, and where I'm likely to actually be able to get a bait back, and so on and so forth, right? So it's also just a gradual process of wanting to go down the rabbit hole and fish higher quality, more expensive baits. But good for you, man. You've got a couple of the original Blitz cranks. Almost all the paint wore off. That's sweet. That HPF is tough to cast because of its flat sides, huh? Interesting. What? Dino says, does Lucky Craft make a flat side? Yeah, I've got them sitting right here, dude. I just picked them up recently. It's called the KJ Flat 1.5. I picked them up from Fisherman's Warehouse in that order that you guys were all jazzed about and ran to make a similar purchase. So it's this guy right here. KJ Flat 1.5. So it is the standard Lucky Craft 1.5 body style, body shape, um, or rather length, but it is a flat side and it does come with a circuit board lip on there. So, yes, they do. Oh, hit the head means take a piss. I didn't know that, dude. Why did I not know that? Tim says the Blitz EXDR is one of the most awesome small body deep divers he's ever thrown. Um, and I believe you on that. I've heard really good things about that bait too, but shallow runners are kind of my deal for now. There will be a time one day when I've got a boat and fish a couple specific bodies of water that are not far from me. And I already kind of know the spots that I'm going to hit because I study a lot of these bodies of water and the maps. But I'm a bank fisherman for now. Um, so yeah, I'll keep that on the back burner, way back in the back of my mind in terms of being on my radar for deep diving crankbaits. I must be a little bit behind. KJ flat, KJ flat. JP says, anyone know if the new / reissued KJ flats are the same as the originals? I don't know that. That's tough to know with a lot of things Lucky Craft. I kind of assume that they are because they are full price most places. It's just at Fisherman's Warehouse right now. You can find them on sale. But same goes for a lot of the BDS baits, some of the jerk baits and G Splash top waters. So I would assume they're the same. It doesn't seem like they've been redesigned, and I haven't heard of that, but I could be wrong. Ooh, that is tough, Tim. You had a bunch for a number of years uh, until you were kind of forced to throw them because you forgot that you had that box of cranks. But, better late than never, right? And that's a good point, Matt. If you snag one Evoke, you just lost about 4 KVD 1.5s. And, you're going to lose 4 KVD 1.5s every now and again. But if the Evoke or the Blitz catches you that many more fish, gives you that much more confidence, and perhaps hangs up less frequently than the others, then all of those things together makes it worth it to use the more expensive bait than to just plow through a bunch of cheaper baits, right? But to each their own. Some people would prefer to just plow through a bunch of cheaper baits if they like the action and have a reasonable amount of confidence in those baits as it is. John, I'm not sure about the Lucky Craft Clutch NV. Interesting. Well, good to know, Tim, that it's a super deep diver for its size and that you are a big, big fan of it. Frank says, Tyler and Chet, who uses a structure jig, 0-degree line tie, arrow-shaped head, and where do you like to fish them? I don't throw structure jigs, really, to be honest. I might have a couple, but no, I'm a little bit of a simpleton when it comes to jig fishing. I throw like an Arky style jig. I throw a swim jig. I throw a football jig. Uh, there might be one or two others, but I don't throw a structure jig all that much. So we might have to defer to other people in the chat right now as for when and why they like to throw structure jigs, but that's not really my deal. Sorry about it. Nate Sommers in the house. What up, dude? Yo, you missed the whole unboxing is what you missed, dude. I mean, you want me to run back through it? Because it's not all that much stuff, if we're being honest. Shoot, I still have two baits in here, guys. They are soft plastics, all right? So first, I'll tell you, Nate, you missed two packs of the DRT VTS7. This is a collaboration with Working Class Zero in that they made a unique color called Joy Thief, which is a color that they make in the DRT Clash 9 series, which is this guy right here. Kind of like a blue and silver type of color. So I got two packs of that 7-inch size and showed an underwater video of that bait on a fast retrieve, although it was a little janky, so maybe you didn't miss all that much because it didn't look great. But also one pack of the Depths Sakamata Shad in the 6-inch in this wicked Wagasaki type of color. And one of the Megabass Grand Siglet, little cicada style crawler bait by Megabass. And you missed me embarrassing myself pretty badly about the fact that this bait is meant to be retrieved backwards. And then two of these guys right here, the OSP Blitz. This is the standard size, shallow diving depth. This guy right here in the Jinrin, this bluegill color called the Burugill. And then the last thing here are the new, and who knows if they're going to hit and like how well they're going to do, but these are the new Yamamoto Ned Senko. So I didn't know that Yamamoto packaging looked all that different in Japan than it does here in the US. But you guys know that I like to throw the Ned rig and that I have so many different Ned rig baits. But this guy right here is a Senko. It's a 3-inch Senko, right? But it's made from a new formula of soft plastic that is a floater. So I'll tell you right now that this thing feels as soft as any Yamamoto bait that I have held, if not even a little bit softer. And this is not made from an elastomer style plastic. So this will rip if I pull hard enough, but I can tell immediately that there is either very little or no salt in this bait. So it's a traditional plastisol bait, not elastomer, but it is a floating style bait. So apparently on a Ned rig, this is supposed to stand up. So I was curious to try it out. Almost has a hint of a scent on it, which is interesting. But these come 10 to a pack. And it's funny because I say, you know, I didn't know that Yamamoto JDM baits had different packaging, but look right on top, USA made. So I don't know. Is Yamamoto changing all of their packaging from green to blue, or what's going on here? Um, I'm a little bit confused. But this color is a color that I have a lot of confidence in. And I was talking about how I caught a couple fish the other day on the Zoom Swamp Crawler, and it happened to be in this color. It's called the Watermelon Moon Dust. Okay. So, very cool color that is like a mixture between watermelon and like a electric shad or electric shiner with that purple flake in there that I don't know. I just love that color. And then I also got one in Okeechobee Craw, which I really like. And I wouldn't call it a fully traditional Okeechobee Craw because you get that straight green pumpkin right there, right? But then this other side is not really a black and blue. It's really just like a green pumpkin blue flake, slightly darker than the backside. So, kind of like this color pattern, but this is more of like a green pumpkin blue type of color pattern. And yeah, I'll let you guys know how I like this bait. I will be throwing it sooner than later just to get at least a feel for how it acts in the water and where it ought to fit into my rotation of Ned baits, because you guys know that there are a lot of Ned baits that I already use and like, and will recommend frequently, and right up at the top of the list is the old X Zone Ned Zone. Um, and if this bait, the Yamamoto Ned Senko, performs anything like that, I'm going to be a big fan pretty quickly. So I will keep you posted. All right. Now I'm sure I'm way behind on comments, so let me try not to skip all of them real quick. I'm dropping stuff everywhere. Nate says, I've never lost a blitz and I've been fishing them for at least 5 years. Well, dang, dude. That's impressive. And I'm glad to hear it because Matt says the same thing about the Evokes. Not that he's never lost one, but that they don't hang up much. I'm going to skip some of your comments, and I apologize that I'm not addressing every single one. It's just that I'm a little bit behind. Tim says, I get excited about crankbaits like some guys get excited about max scent or bait fuel. LOL. Well, yeah, to each their own, right? I get excited about a little bit of everything. Um, I think there's something about max scent and bait fuel that's probably a little bit more wide reaching than crankbaits in general, you know, unless you're just someone who cranks every time you go out. But I think max scent in particular was something that was kind of game changing. And most people associate it with uh, being a smallmouth thing, but in reality, it's not. It's a multi-species thing, and not even just bass. I've had tremendous success, especially on this guy right here, the Maxent D worm, uh, in catching all sorts of fish, uh, loads of panfish and perch, even trout. Uh, it's a really good bait, and there's just something about Maxent that triggers the fish. Um, And so, yeah, bait fuel, I'm a little bit mixed on, but so far so good. I think I'm sold on it, and I'm actually having a conversation with the people at American Bait Works right now because they are going to release a whole bunch of new baits, from NetBait and from their STH line of baits, which is Set the Hook, mostly a drop shot line of soft plastic baits that are all infused with bait fuel, which I'm very curious about because in my minimal experience with bait fuel, uh, I say minimal, but it's been a half a dozen times or so. And I've already loaded this into a whole bunch of bags of soft plastics. I've already found that pre soaking baits in bait fuel might not be the way to go. Uh, it does kind of thicken up in the package. And I wish I had one down here to be able to show you guys, but I don't know the ideal way to apply bait fuel to baits because obviously you can just apply it by hand, just squirt some on your bait and then use it. But I think that it probably doesn't last quite as long as it would if you marinate your baits in bait fuel. Uh, though I could be totally wrong about that. I don't know. For me, it lasts about 10 minutes or so, depending on how many casts you're making, but about 10 minutes in the water before it really starts to wear off if you've just applied it externally to the bait. So, anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent there. Maybe I get excited about scent, and maybe you get excited about crankbaits. But my point was, we all get excited about different things. I tend to think that I get excited about a little bit of everything. And Nate also got a few packs of the what? The VTS, the Sakamoto Shads, or the Yamamoto Ned Senkos? I'm not sure what you're referring to there yet, Nate. Interesting. Okay, so Nate says the packaging blue is just for baits with no salt, which is interesting because on the package itself, it says get salty. You would think that maybe they would leave that off there if these are packages that do not have salt in them, but whatever. Good to know. Thank you, man. JDM Yamamoto is yellow, American Yamamoto is green, and salt free is blue. Appreciate you guys. Matt says, Tyler, have you ever heard of the Yamamoto tailless grub? It's like a thin scat style bait and meant for IMO rigging. I have not. Tailless grub. Now, is it any different than if, say, you took a fat Ica and cut the tail off, or you took because that would be fatter than, say, using a hula grub and cutting the tail off, right? But no, I don't know about that. Tim's got a deep-seated love for crankbaits. I hear you. Wow, so you're a big-time cranker, huh? Well, Matt, shoot, I didn't know that. You're only supposed to marinate overnight. Marinate. Um, well, what happens if you don't run through the whole bag of soft plastics? What are you supposed to do? Because it does start to coagulate a little bit and get kind of chunked up. And not fully, but it's a little bit funky. So I didn't know that. And I don't think it says on the bottle because it says right here, shake vigorously, apply directly to the bait, or add into soft plastic bag and let marinate. So I just took that for what it was worth, and I threw it in like a half a dozen bags of soft plastics. Luckily, I didn't do it in like dozens of bags of soft plastics. I don't think it's going to ruin it, but at the same time, I it kind of weirds me out a little bit. So John's asking Tim what kind of rod he uses for lighter crankbaits, and I actually crank with the same rod for pretty much everything. It handles most things well. It's a 7 foot medium regular action, I believe is what it's called. Um, I believe it's a fudge. I should know. It's a Daiwa Tutula cranking rod, but Tim uses a 6/8 medium or a Lucky Craft 701 MF Fat Mini Magic. Geez, those are very specific. But you're a crank or tin. It's actually more similar to cutting the tail off of a grub and rigging it backwards. So it's not that fat or interesting. Man, you guys are mentioning a lot of stuff that like I wish I had written down so that I could look up later. Um, I might have to rewatch my own stream to catch up on some of this stuff and actually look it up. But oh well, I appreciate the good conversation, guys. We are going down the JDM rabbit hole, and I'm into it. Daniel says his two favorite things are cranking and frogs. Sweet, dude. Well, let us know what's your favorite crankbait. What's your favorite frog, Daniel? People said Matt says what I was thinking too, but people also said you want to use not that much, like only use a small amount, or plastic will soak it like crazy. See, and that's why I wanted to marinate it. It's like I'm not emptying a whole bunch into every bag. I'm probably putting like a tablespoon's worth, maybe definitely less than an ounce, right? Because these bottles are 8 ounces. I'm probably using a half ounce at most in a bag, just enough to really like coat all of the plastics. I'm not leaving liquid in the bottom, but still, you can see it start to thicken up over the course of a day or two. Tim says, I'd probably be a better fisherman, Tyler, if I didn't love to crank so much. It's bit me in the ass a couple times. Well, I hear you. I think that happens to the best of us, to all of us, really, when it comes to just, either being too diehard about one technique or being the opposite and wanting to try too many techniques, too many new baits, which is often my problem. I'll go out with a half a dozen or a dozen different baits that are new to me that I'm like super excited to try. And I give them a shot for X period of time before getting that feeling where like, damn, either it's not working or I'm not doing the bait justice, and I'll figure it out later. So I default to what I know works well, and just out of desperation, try to catch a couple fish to salvage the day. So Yep, I hear you. All those sort of things can bite us in the ass on a regular basis, for sure. And Abe says, I've heard the same thing, just do it overnight because it's water based, gets absorbed if left too long or if there's too much. Yeah, but absorbed into what? Itself? I mean, it's not a bad thing if it gets absorbed into the bait. It's not like the bait dries out. Uh, but yeah, if it's in the bag, then it just kind of dries out. I guess because it's water based. I don't know. So oil based would stay, but theoretically, according to bait fuel, would not be as effective because the fish can't sense it. Hmm. Oh hell yeah! I just caught up on the comments. I appreciate it. You guys are just talking to each other, so I'm not going to read off all those comments. Good deal. All right. Well, we're 1 hour and 31 minutes in. Um, I do have. No, I'm gonna pour another whiskey. Okay. I'm gonna pour the heat, and I don't have any ice cubes, so we're going deep in this guy right here. 125 proof. I just cracked this last week with you guys. Um, so I'm not going to do a huge pour right now. Very standard size, maybe a 1.5 ounce pour. But let's blow this conversation open and talk about kind of whatever else you guys want to talk about. It could be JDM, it could be not JDM. Um, why don't Daniel? Why don't you open up the conversation with? You said your two favorite techniques are cranking and frogging. So if you had to choose one or two, I'll give you two. Uh, JDM crankbaits and JDM frogs that are kind of your favorite. What would they be? And I might think about the same thing. We can all give an answer to that question. All right. Oh, my back. It's like I don't know what box is what at this point. A lot of my crankbaits are in a whole bunch of random boxes right now. Got to get those bad boys organized. Matt says the Nori's Bass Bite liquid doesn't do that. It stays pretty thin. Doesn't seem to affect the plastic that bad. Well, where can we find a significant amount of the Bass Bite liquid? Because when Taku won that tournament, I looked around and it seems like that stuff is impossible to find. Um, like they just don't make very much of it. They make the powder, they make the liquid, but you can't buy the liquid, especially in big bulk quantities. So, I'm open to trying a little bit of everything, but I will say when using the bait fuel so far, I have had good results. So it might just be that the deal is to plan ahead and either just apply it to partial bags of soft plastics that you know you're going to use, or better yet, just apply it in the moment with just a little dab and apply it by hand. Use it for a little bit and then apply it again. It's kind of annoying to have to do that, but not that big of a deal, right? If it works, then why not? And because it's water based, it's super easy to wash off your hands just by dipping your hands in the water and rubbing it off, or just by wiping it on your clothes. it doesn't stain. So maybe that's just more of what you need to do with it. And we're all just kind of figuring out there's a learning curve to using the bait fuel. Adam says, what do you guys suggest for a Texas rig bait when the bite is tough and the heat is high? Um, hate to say it, but a 5 or 6 inch stick bait. um, if nothing else is working, then throw a stick bait, dude. Um, definitely not my favorite thing to throw, but this is the Bass Pro Shops Sticko. This is like a watermelon red green pumpkin hybrid color. Forget exactly what they call this color pattern, but I also really like this a sweet tater pie. A stick bait is kind of hard to beat for its action. But I do throw it more wacky rig than I throw it Texas rig. So if you're talking a weighted Texas rig, my number one bait, probably of all time, is the Rage Bug in the chameleon color. But, those are not JDM baits, right? So it depends on what you're looking for, what you're talking about right now. But, when the bite is tough, you want to go with something a little bit more subtle, a little slower of a fall. So, this guy right here, last year for me, just was a killer. The 3.8-inch Gay Crack Bellows gill on a weightless Texas rig was the deal, for sure. Last year, that was probably the bait that impressed me the most. I did not throw it on a weighted Texas rig because it has a medium speed fall on its own. And with the way that bait acts in the water, here's the smaller size. I really only throw this on the back of a finesse jig, but this guy has a ton of tail action. As you can see, when I'm hardly moving the bait, that tail wants to do its thing. When you swim this bait through the water, that tail does a lot. So on the fall, this thing has a really subtle but unique fall and quiver to it that fish just kind of can't stand. So this is one that I would recommend, especially on a weightless Texas rig. And if you don't already have it, you need to get it. Oh, I just skipped a bunch of comments. My bad. Daniel says, Lucky Craft BDS cranks. Okay. Frank says Tyler is going to wipe his bait fuel soaked hands on his pants, and a bass is going to jump out of the water and latch onto his butt. Dude, I would not mind it. I have wiped my bait fuel soaked hands on my pants a number of times, but I have yet to have a fish jump out of the water and bite my ass. So hopefully that happens sooner than later, but the jury is out. I will I'll let you know if that ever happens, dude. But seriously, that's one of the nice things about this is it doesn't stain. So if you're not literally like if you're fishing from the bank, but you're higher up, you're not right down on the water, you're trying to be a little bit more stealthy. That's something you can easily do is just a quick wipe on your clothes or on the ground, on some grass, whatever. You don't have to go down to the water. You don't have to have a towel like you do with a lot of other scents. And you can certainly squirt some on a bait and apply it by hand. Get it in all the crevices. If you're using a bait that has all these ribs on it, you can get that bait fuel all up in that bait and you'll feel it on your fingers. You just kind of rub it in like it's some hand sanitizer, wipe your hands on your clothes and you're good to go. Um, but that is a funny joke, dude. Tim, what bait won you 2100 bucks in a tournament and a big bass? That's pretty sick, dude. No, that is a big deal. It doesn't matter if you are winning the Bassmaster Classic or a standard tournament. 2100 bucks is a nice little payday, dude. What bait were you using? I can't keep up with you guys. Have you ever had trouble with small fish pulling the tail end off of the bellows gill? No, I haven't. But as I've mentioned before, I have had issues with too many small fish eating the bellows gill 2.8. So they make this in a 2.8, a 3.8, and a 5.8. And I found out pretty quickly last year that this 2.8 inch gets bit by all fish. And if you've got aggressive fish around, the aggressive small fish will eat this quickly. So this thing gets bit more than the other sizes, but as you step up, it becomes more and more of a big fish bait. So I don't have the 5.8 and don't really want to throw it because I don't have a lot of like 6 to 10 pound fish. Most of my fish are, for me, a big fish is 3 to 5 pounds, upwards of 6. So I'm targeting that like middle size class fish. I don't want to catch a lot of 1 pounders. And I found that this 2.8 inch did. But I had a couple of these left over from last year. And so I've been using this smaller size on the back of a finesse jig with like a 2-aught hook on it. I already told you guys about that. Finesse football jig, and it's been whacking them this year. So that is a good way to do it and slightly upsize your catch. But I've never had an issue with fish biting the tail off of this thing. They eat it pretty well. All right. So the answer is no. JP says, I've done well with the Bellows Gill Texas rig with an unpegged 1/8 ounce sinker as well. Uh, yep, totally hear you there. That is an option, especially if you're fishing a little bit deeper or if you want a slightly different action uh, where perhaps the fish are relating to the bottom more, uh, in anywhere from a few feet to 10 feet of water. An 1/8 ounce weight unpegged could be a great option. Um, but for me, I'm fishing in shallow water most of the time, and these fish are either cruising or they're sitting in spots where they're going to ambush. So like I'm fishing high percentage areas, and they don't tend to be that deep. So I rarely need to throw a weight on with the bellows gill because of its sink rate already. Man, you guys are really going down that rabbit hole. Orakamushi Daddy from OSP. Adam says, I have some 6-inch stickos. Maybe I'll try them weightless. Yeah, don't throw them weighted. Those guys already have a ton of weight on them. And really, the fall on a 6-inch stick bait is what is the deal and why fish eat it. So it'll fall at not quite a foot per second, but fast enough and have that wag to it that will trigger bites. So if you're having no success, throw a sticko, either weightless Texas rig or wacky rigged or Nico rigged, or free rigged for that matter. And I think you'll be happy. A free rig could be the deal as opposed to a weightless Texas rig, depending on the depth of the water column that the fish are relating to and how deep the water is that you're fishing. You might want to try it on a free rig just to get it down a little bit faster and have that action be in kind of the bottom half of the water column, but totally up to you. I did not know that OSP has some sister companies. Do tell, Tim. What are OSP's sister companies? What are they called? Are they well known at all? Are they accessible to most of us here in the US, or are they just like one off smaller lure manufacturers in Japan? What? Daniel says, I have the 3.8, but panfish or baby bass pull the tail off. Dude, I've never had that problem. Uh, of course, everybody's fish are going to act a little bit differently, but no, dude, I've never had that problem. I mean, this tail, there you go. It took a little bit for me to get that tail to come off, and I've never had that issue, especially panfish just kind of pecking at it. Um, it's entirely possible that small fish are trying to eat the 3.8, but not getting the whole thing in their mouths, and you're setting the hook on them and then losing a tail. But I really don't think they're just biting it and biting the tail off. You're probably ripping the tail off after you feel a bite, if I had to guess. Got a barking spider coming. My bad. Excuse me. Frank says, Tyler, if you're pitching your Kitech crazy flappers, do you use a straight shank hook or an EWG? I'm going to give mine a go for the first time tomorrow. So I use an EWG most of the time, but you can certainly get away with either one, right? Here's the thing is I would assume you're pitching more so than you're flipping, right? Because the crazy flapper does have quite a bit of action on it, right? All these appendages make it perhaps not the best flipping bait to go in and out of cover. Now, you could remove these outer appendages and make it a very streamlined presentation and use it as a flipping bait, in which case then you want to use a straight shank hook. But I use an EWG on it, and it is designed really well to let an EWG sit right in that slot on top, right? So you don't even really need to expose it if you're just flipping to visible cover. The hook will rest on that spot on top pretty damn well. So I use an EWG like, I don't know, 95% of the time when using the crazy flapper. Okay. OSP works loco. OSP works secondary. Huh. No, they're not readily accessible here in the US for most people. Most JDM baits aren't, though. That's true. That's true. Adam, I have not tried the structure gill yet. Where the hell did it go? You know, I quickly showed it last stream, so I don't know where I just set it. Here it is. No, I would not use a, well, it depends on what you mean by slow retrieve. I would not use a slow and steady retrieve. I pretty much wouldn't on any of these baits, because really this bait can do two different things pretty well. You can either fish it like a jig, where you let that thing fall all the way to bottom. It'll swim a little bit on its way down, not much, but then it will rest on bottom and stand up like so. Okay? It'll sit horizontally on bottom. Now, if you slow drag it, it'll stay keeled like that. Or if you yo-yo it, it will come back to a rest laying down. But slow swimming it is going to leave a very minimal amount of kicking action. So if you're going to work this thing like a swim bait, you want to fish it on a medium or medium fast speed retrieve to get that tail doing its job. But really, that's not how this bait is designed to be used. It's meant to be more of a jig first, and then secondarily a bait that can be used as a swim bait if necessary. So let's say you've got a piece of structure that's like, you know, a half a cast worth away. Let's say it's 20 yards out. You might want to make that cast accurately, let it sink down in and around the cover, work it slowly like a jig, either dragging it, dead sticking it, hopping it, whatever, until you're out of the strike zone and you're in open water. And then you've still got 10 or 15 yards between you and where you made that cast. All of a sudden, you can hop that thing and start winding it in. And on a straight retrieve that's more of a medium or medium fast speed retrieve, that thing's going to have good action like a swim bait. But a steady and slow retrieve, in my opinion, is not the deal. All right, guys, we've been on for an hour and 54 minutes talking mad JDM stuff. Most of you guys talking to each other, which I am always jazzed about. I appreciate the active chat. Tim, John, Frank, Matt, Daniel, all you guys. And then Adam, a couple of you guys asking specific questions of me. I appreciate that. But our viewership has dropped off and it's getting late. It's a little after 11 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and it's Wednesday night. So, guys, I'm happy to check out. Matt says the original optimum swim bait in 3.5 and 4-inch size is a good bait to use as a swim jig, but it's more for open water. Okay. Seems like a random comment a little bit. Aren't those pre-rigged? Like, what do you mean to use as a swim jig? It's not like it has a skirt on it. Damn, this whiskey is spicy, bro. You got to keep it in the mouth a little bit longer. Just burnt me up a little bit. Abe, no problem, my man. Thank you so much for hanging out. I wish you'd be a little bit more active in the chat, and I hope you will next time. My bad. Looks like I'm getting a little gassy here at the end of the night. Sorry about it. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I am going to dip out of here, but there's a reasonable chance that I will be back on tomorrow night. I have no real agenda. If you guys have any suggestions or ideas of what you'd like to talk about in a live stream tomorrow, or any of you guys want to join me, feel free to do so. Hit me up on Instagram because I will probably be free tomorrow night and would be happy to get back on. So let me know. You guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your Thursday tomorrow. And yeah, it's been fun. I appreciate it. Tim says, I love these kind of streams where I don't mind speaking in anything. I like all these guys in here. Great show. Well, appreciate it. Chicken fried steak. Later, guys. Dude, I didn't even know you were in here. You and Abe, you guys got to speak up. You got to be active in the chat. All right. Okay, guys. You guys have a great rest of your night. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully tomorrow night. All right. Peace out.